Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh exist today because British India was partitioned in 1947, forcing millions of people from their homes, sparking widespread violence, and causing up to 2 million deaths. Bangladesh, originally part of Pakistan, gained independence in 1971 following a war of liberation, which itself followed a genocide of up to 3 million people. Considering all this devastation, can we honestly say that partitioning British India was a good idea? For the past decade, one of India's most respected legal minds has been arguing it wasn't, and has been advocating that Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh should now seriously consider reversing the 1947 partition. This idea is ridiculed by many and feared by others, but the reunification movement, while small, is growing and is steadily gaining momentum in all three countries. Does it have a chance? Here's the story. The events which led to the creation of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh were incredibly traumatic, and that trauma reverberates today. India and Pakistan have been in a state of war, or near war, for 7 decades, and both countries are now armed with nuclear weapons, so any full-scale conflict could be devastating for the entire planet. A focal point of the conflict is Kashmir, which is claimed by both countries and divided. There is no agreed border, only a military front line that has been frozen in place for generations. Because of heightened tensions, the freedoms of Kashmiris on both sides of this line are heavily curtailed. Tightly controlled borders also hamper economic growth. The 60 million people living in the Indian state of Gujarat cannot easily visit or trade with the 58 million people living in the Pakistani province of Sindh. Likewise, the 170 million people of Bangladesh, who mostly speak the same language as the 91 million people of the Indian state of West Bengal, are kept in relative isolation by a vigilantly guarded border, which in turn keeps northeast India extremely isolated, both economically and politically. Despite these fairly obvious downsides, there have been few serious calls to reverse the partition, until recently. Justice of the Indian Supreme Court, Markandeya Katju, a longtime student of Indian history, concluded after many years of research that the partition was actually an unfair swindle imposed by the British, designed to keep the resulting new countries divided and weak. Increasingly convinced that reunification would help solve many political, social, and economic problems, Katju went public with his call for Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh to merge. 5 years later, he launched the organization now known as the Indian Reunification Association, or IRA, which since 2021 has been led by Irfan Pulani. In just 6 years, the IRA has founded chapters in each of India's 36 states and union territories, and has over 10,000 individual members. It also has supporters in Pakistan and Bangladesh, but conditions there make it much harder to organize. And what exactly does the IRA propose? How could reunification actually happen? And would a reunited India be a three-way federation or something else? According to Pulani, these are the questions the IRA receives most, but it deliberately leaves them unanswered. Their current goal is only to introduce ideas into the public discourse, most importantly that the partition was a swindle and that a reunified India would have a grand future. Only once these ideas are sufficiently propagated will supporters of reunification then discuss issues like political structure, borders, and currency. But there is one principle which the IRA is already committed to. Whatever form a new government takes, it must be secular, as in the state must be tolerant of religious diversity and not favor any one particular religious group. This would be especially important for the over 350 million Muslims currently living in Pakistan and Bangladesh, who now make up the overwhelming religious majority in their respective countries, but after reunification would become part of a minority. What about the grand future the IRA points to? Is this realistic? There's certainly a long list of potential benefits. India and Pakistan both have huge military budgets, most of which is spent on the threat that they pose to each other. Reunification could create an enormous peace dividend, which could lead to lower taxes or increase public spending in other areas. There would also be sizable economic benefits from increased trade and a significantly larger labor force. A reunified India would also redefine global geopolitics. With nearly 2 billion citizens and unfettered by the threat of war, the country that emerged would arguably be a superpower. I mean, what else could you call it? Of course, reunification won't solve every problem, and not everyone would welcome it. As citizens of the smaller nations, Pakistanis and Bangladeshis could feel like their countries are being swallowed by India, especially if the new country is called India. There are also deeply entrenched establishments in all three countries that might see reunification as a threat to their power. There are many other possible objections to reunification as well, too many to list here. But the IRA is not in a rush. It argues that reunification is inevitable, the ultimate destiny of the Indian subcontinent, and it wants the benefits of reunification to be widely understood before any next step is taken, and this will require patience and persistence. It might sound counterintuitive, but according to Irfan Pulani, the fastest way to get to reunification is to go slowly.